Hello and welcome on how to set up JG Mechanic. Now this will be a comprehensive guide for QBox, QB Core and ESX. There will be multiple things such as setting it up for each specific framework, adding additional stuff such as custom notification systems and custom banking systems, and general configuration. So let's get started. First things first, what you want to do is go to portal.cfx.re to install your JG Mechanic resource. Now you can purchase this at jgscripts.com. The link will be in the top right in the card, or it will be down in the description below. Now that you've made it to the portal, you click sign in with cfx.re. Now the account you want to sign in with is the account you purchased the resource on. So if you're not finding it, make sure you're on the right KeyMaster account. So that's what I'm going to do now. Sign in. There we go. Now all you do is go over to assets and then you look for the JG resource. So I'm going to be looking for JG Mechanic. Click the download button. And that's all. Now this will most likely be installed in your downloads folder. I've just dragged it to my desktop to make it easier for me. Now all you do is right click it. Click extract all. Extract. Let it do its thing. And there you go. It'll open up a new file explorer folder. And this is what you'll see. JG Mechanic bundle. So all you do, go into that folder. Now this is what you'll see. JG Mechanic, JG Mechanic props, JG text UI, and JG vehicle mileage. Now, JG text UI is not required. However, mechanic props and vehicle mileage are required. Now, the primary thing we're going to focus on right now is JG Mechanic. So what we'll do, we'll open up that folder. Now you'll see a lot of folders. Now this can get overwhelming, but right now, all we need to focus on is config and install. So let's do install first. So double click the install folder. Now you'll see two options, database and inventory. Now, if you are using QBox, it normally comes with aux inventory. So that's what we're going to do for this QBox install. Open the aux inventory items.lua and you'll see something like this. Now, you see how it says, do not copy paste this file, just copy the items within the table below. So what a table is this thing. Config.items equals open bracket, and the bottom, you see the purple close bracket. So only the items within these brackets is what we copy. So let's do this. Scroll all the way to the top. And then you do inside the table like that. Now all we do is click right click and click copy. That's it. Now, if you are using QBox, you will see a folder called aux. Open that folder. Click on aux inventory. Click on data, and then items.lua. Now you'll see something like this. This looks confusing, but it's not that hard. Now let me explain what we need to do. Remember how I mentioned there was a table earlier in the aux inventory items.lua, this one. We're going to do the same thing. So instead of copying, this purple bracket right here, you want all of the items inside of that purple bracket. So let's scroll all the way to the bottom. You see that purple bracket there? We don't want to do it here because it will cause problems. You see all that red? That's bad. So what we want to do is click here, press enter, and paste. So let's do that again. Press enter and paste. And then all you have to do, click file, save. Done. You see? No issues. Now for QB Core, this is slightly different, but fairly similar. So all we have to do, open up QB Core items.lua. And all we have to do again, just copy the items within the table. So exclude the purple brackets, but include everything else inside. Now all you do is go to your QB Core folder. Now that you're in your QB Core resource, go to shared, then items.lua. Then you scroll all the way to the bottom press enter, and then paste. And that's it. And then you can save the folder the exact same way. Save. That's all you have to do. Now the next thing we need to install are the images. For Ox Inventory, this is again fairly simple. All you do is go back one, and you see how it says Ox Inventory? You go to the web folder. So double click the web folder and then go to images. And this is all the images in your server. Every single one. Double click the images folder here. And then all you do is select all of them. Hold the left click and drag it. And there you go. You've added all of the images. That's all you need to do for now. With the inventory at least. Now you may be wondering, what about QB inventory? Well, it's fairly similar. All you have to do is go to your QB folder. Then go to QB inventory. And then there will be an exact same folder called HTML. HTML. Click on HTML. Then go to images. And drag those images into the exact same way that I did for Ox Inventory. All you have to do. Now the next thing we need to do is the database. What the database is it stores all of the information. So that could be like your orders, your employees, your owners, the amount of money you have inside of the mechanic, etc. So how we do this is we need to have MariaDB installed, which I assume you already do because you have the 5M server running. So all you do is right click it, edit in Notepad, and you'll see something like this. Now this is fairly simple. All you do is select all, copy. So I'll just do copy. Then you go to your HiDSQL. So the way I'm going to do that is on my VPS right here. Open up HiDSQL. Click on that one. And then go to my database name. So my one is QBX Framework 19071F. And then paste it in the query. Now, this is all of the data that's going to be made. So it's going to make a table called mechanic employees, mechanic data, mechanic services, all of these. All we do now is click this button right here, execute SQL. And there you go. Done. Simple as. This is the same for all frameworks as well. We've done all of the installation that's outside of the JG Mechanic resource. We have to do nothing else now. Now, let's go to config. Let's first do config.lua. Okay, so this is what your config.lua will look like. Fairly simple. It will also explain anything if you need any help. So, config.framework. This is the framework you use. So for us, we're going to be using QBox right now. So we can leave it as auto, or we can type in QBox because it says it right here. So if you're using QB core, make sure it's the exact same as that one, or exact same as this one. Otherwise it will cause issues. Now the inventory, we're using Ox Inventory in this server. All we do, type in Ox_inventory. Cool, done. Now for notifications, you can leave it as default, which will be oxlib. You can use PSUI, OK notify, or Nox notify. Now I'm just going to do oxlib. Progress bar. So you have 3 different options. You have ox circle, ox bar, and QB. Now you might wonder, what is the difference between ox circle and ox bar? So the difference between ox circle and ox bar is this. A progress circle looks like this, and a progress bar looks like this. So if you want to use a bar, leave it as ox bar. And if you want to make it a circle, do ox circle. Now the last one is QB. So that will be using QB menu. Skill check. There's 2 options, Ox or QB. If you are using QBox, I recommend using Ox. Remember how I said JG Text UI isn't needed, but you can use it? This is for the draw text. So if you want to use If it's set to auto, it will be using JG Text UI. Because oxlib is started first in this list, it will do that first. And then it will do OK Text UI. So if you wanted OK Text UI specifically for JG Mechanic, just set this to OK Text UI. But I'm going to be using oxlib. Just a post-editing side note, the text UI is the little icon on the left-hand side that says press E to access, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now the society banking, you have to set one up. There's no choice, you have to set one up. So the default ones are OK banking, FD banking, renewed banking, TGG banking, QB banking, QB management, and ESX add-on account. Now, for the base QBox install, you will be using renewed banking. So we're going to copy this, renewed banking. Exactly the same as this. Now, to set up JG Mechanic for ESX, it's fairly simple. You can leave these as auto, but to ensure that it works properly, I suggest just setting it up yourself. So let's say we're using ESX. We just copy what's there. Don't overcomplicate it, just copy what's there. Ooh. Just like that. Bam, that's all you have to do. Config inventory. Now, this depends on what inventory you're using. Now, with newer ESX builds, it comes with Ox inventory built in. But if you're still using ESX inventory, all you do is set it to ESX_inventory, like it says right here. Now, if you're using Ox inventory still, copy, paste. All you have to do. Notifications. So the options are default, oxlib, psui, OK notify, and nox notify. Now, because oxlib is a dependency for JG Mechanic, I recommend just leaving it as oxlib or auto. Up to you. Progress bar, you can change it from ox circle, ox bar, and QB. So ox circle shows a circle progress bar like we mentioned before. Ox bar shows a bar, a progress bar, and QB, you won't be really using this for ESX unless you have QB menu installed. Skill check, you can either use ox or QB. For ESX, you'll probably be using ox. Just set it to auto if you're not sure though. And draw text, you can use JG Text UI, which comes in the JG Mechanic pack. Oxlib, OK Text UI, PSUI, and QB. So if you're not sure, set it to oxlib. Society banking. Now, this is specific to your server. So there are multiple options. Now, you can't leave this as auto. You have to set something specific for this. So ESX add-on account comes with every single ESX server. So if you're not sure, you are probably using ESX add-on account. But all you have to do is highlight by double-clicking, copy, and highlight over the whole thing in the speech marks and paste. That's it. That's all you have to do. And that's it. Bam, you're done for setting up ESX. Now, the supported languages you can have for the config.locale is Arabic, Chinese, German, English, French, Hungarian, Italian, and Swedish. Now, you can add more yourself. I'm going to leave mine as EN because I'm English, but you can also use any of those languages. And the way to do it is look into the folder locales, and you see how it says ar.lua, cn.lua, de.lua. Whatever language you speak, you name it that. So if I wanted to do Spanish, I would just name this ES rather than EN. Config.use framework jobs. Now, this is for using your inbuilt framework jobs. So whatever you set here, this is where it will grab the framework jobs from, just to let you know. So if you set this to true, if somebody's the boss of, so if somebody's the highest grade and they're set as the boss, then they'll have access to the boss menu, for example. Otherwise, you'd have to set it yourself in the tablet or in the mechanic admin, sorry. Now for this one, so the config use tablet command, what it's for, if somebody does /tablet, then it will open up the mechanic tablet for your workers to use. Now you can also use the physical item, and if you want it to be exclusively that, you can set it to false, as it says. And that's another alternative to how people can actually use the mechanic tablet rather than just only using the item. The tablet connection max distance. In JG Mechanic, what you have to do is you have to connect to a vehicle. This sets how far away you can be to be able to connect to the vehicle. So if you're further than 4 meters away, it won't let you connect. You'd have to come closer to the vehicle itself. So config.target. So if you are using QBox, I recommend setting it to aux target because that's the reinstalled third eye system that QBox has. So this is only for shops and stashes, by the way, as it says here. Do you want the shop to use the society fund, or do you want it to come out of the pocket of the worker? If you set it to false, then it will take the money of the pots out from the worker's pocket. If this is set to true, do you want the money to come out of the bank account or cash out of their pocket? Config.use skill bars. Now, this is for if you want your workers to have skill checks when installing stuff. So this is the progress bar duration. So what this does is how long it takes for the progress bar to complete installing something. So if you want it to take a minute, you'd set this to 60,000 because it's in milliseconds. So 10,000 is 10 seconds. 5,000 would be 5 seconds. The list goes on. Maximum skill check attempts. So as it says, how many times the player can attempt a skill check before the skill check fails. So how many tries can they do before it says you failed to install the item? Skill check difficulty. This is only for aux users, so be warned. Now the options are easy, medium, and hard. So pick pick if you want it to be easy for your workers, medium for your workers, or hard for your workers. Now the amount you add is how many skill checks they will have. So if I made it 2, it would only be 2 skill checks. If I made it 3, it would be 3 skill checks, etc, etc. Skill check inputs. What this means is what keys would it use on your keyboard for the actual skill checks. So for the skill check, again, only for aux and auxlib, it will only use W, A, S, and D as the skill check. So it could be WWA, for example, or DSA, etc, etc. It will be random every single time. Would you like to enable vehicle servicing? We can get to this further down in the config servicing.lua. If this is true, then people will have to go to a mechanic shop to be able to service their vehicles. Now, the service required threshold is when it warns you when you need a service. So it will tell you, hey, your suspension needs a service, etc, etc. So it could be your engine, your oil, your spark plugs. There's multiple things you can use. Now, the servicing blacklist, again, this is what vehicles are excluded from the servicing damage. So if you want only police cars or EMS cars to not have servicing, you can put the vehicle name in. So for example, if you have any police cars, you just put in the spawn code. So let's just say, for example, police B, and that will stop the police bikes from needing servicing. Config.nitrous screen effects. What this does is when you use your nitrous, do you want it to flash around on your screen or not? The rear light trails, it sort of leaves like a red streak, of your rear lights, and it's true or false. If you set it to false, then you won't have the trails. If it's set to true, then you will have the trails. And as it says, it's only visible at night, really. The nitrous power increase multiplier. What this does is how much push does it give you when you use the nitrous. So the nitrous default key mapping, R menu is your right alt key. Now this can be changed if you go to, this can be found in the description. I'll also post the link here. It will be down in the description and in the card in the top right of your screen where my mouse is. Now the nitrous max bottles per vehicle, this is how many bottles of nitrous you can install in your vehicle. Now it says the UI can't really handle more than 7. So avoid doing more than 7. So you can put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's it. With config nitrous bottle duration. So in seconds, this is how long that a nitrous tank actually lasts when you hold right alt. So the purge drain rate is before you actually start using nitrous, you have to purge it. Now, the purging drain over here is only 10%. So 0.1 is 10%, 0.5 would be 50%. And if I did 1.0, for example, it would be the same rate of you losing a full bottle of using actual nitrous. If you want the nitrous to drain at the same rate while purging, then set it to 1. If you don't want it to lose anything when purging at all, just set it to 0. And that's it. Okay, now we're doing stancing. So stance minimum suspension height is how low the vehicle can go. So this will always be minus. This will not always be minus. That's a lie. So minus will make it go lower. That's the baseline. If you make this 0.0, it can't go low. It can only go up. And if you made this like just +1, the lowest it can go is super high. So I'd recommend leaving this at around 0.2, 0.3, and you'll be fine. The stance max suspension height is how high the vehicle can go. So I'd recommend leaving this around 0.3 as well. The stance minimum camber. Camber is essentially the tilt of where your vehicle can go. So you want to leave this at least 0.0 to make it. So 0.0 would be just straight, normal. 0.5 would make it tilt outwards. And like the top of the wheel basically going into the car and the bottom of the vehicle sticking out more. The bottom of the wheel sticking out more, Jesus. The minimum track width and the maximum track width is how far out the wheels can actually go. So again, I recommend leaving this default. The stance nearby vehicles frequent milliseconds. So this is how often the stance should update. I recommend leaving this at around 500. You can make it lower, but it can cause performance issues. So I would just leave it at around 500 and you will be fine. Now repairs. Config allow fixing at own mechanics if no one on duty. Very long one, I know. But it explains it. It will only allow fixing at own mechanics if no one is on duty. So let's just say there's one person clocked in. They won't be able to repair their vehicle themselves. They'll have to wait for the mechanic to do it for them if this is set to true. If it's set to false, then they can always repair. The duct tape minimum engine health. So the minimum engine strength that the vehicle has to be able to duct tape it. So if it's below this, it won't allow you to duct tape it and it will give you a warning saying maybe the vehicle is too damaged to be able to do this. And the engine health increase, it's how much the vehicle gets repaired by using the duct tape. Tuning. The config tuning give installed item back on removal. What this does is, let's just say you put level 3 brakes on a car and you wanted to put level 4 brakes on it. It would give you the level 3 brakes back and you'd put the level 4 brakes back on and it would remove that item. If you want to set this to true, set it to true. Now, config use car lift prompt. What will it say when you use the car lift? That's what that means. So in the little text box, that's called text UI. Now, you see it's a number. That doesn't make sense, right? Normally, it's a piece of text. Now, the way you can find what text you want to use is using these docs right here. I'll post them down in the description and I'll also post it in the card in the top right. This is the same as use car lift prompt. What would it show in the little text box on the left-hand side of your screen? Same ordeal here. And the same thing here with the customized vehicle key. I will drop this link down in the description. The way the manual transmissions work is for the config smooth first gear, we'll make sure you won't immediately redline when you go into first gear. So you can set this to true. It will make it slightly slower at the start, but it will reduce wheel spin and it'll generally make your driving experience easier. So if I were you, I'd set this to true. The manual high RPM notifications. What this does is when you start reaching the higher RPMs, like around 7,000 revs, it will give you a notification to change your gear. Now, the reason why it does this is because if you keep your vehicle at redline, it can damage the engine if you have the servicing set to true. Config.unique blips gives every single mechanic shop a separate blip spot. You can set this to true if you want. You can set it to false if you want. Up to you. Config mods prices as percentage of vehicle value. So the tuning of vehicles, do you want it to be a percentage of the actual cost of the vehicle? So let's just say you have a car for $100,000 and you set the mods prices as percentage of vehicle value to true and you set it to 5%. Then each upgrade would cost $5,000. That's how it works. That's the simplified version of it, but that's essentially how it works. Now, the admins have employee permissions. So the admins can use the tablet and interact with mechanics like an owner. So this is for your higher up staff so they can actually use the mechanic tablet like an owner. The config mechanic employees can self-service mods. So set this to true if you want to let the mechanic employees skip the place order button with their own mechanic shop. So let's just say your mechanic worker wants to upgrade their own car. They don't have to click the place order button and go through all of these steps like that. They can just set it straight up for themselves and get it sorted. The full repair admin command, when you do /vfix, it will fix your vehicle. Reset servicing as well. Mechanic admin command, if you do /mechanic admin, it will open up a UI that lets you set owners of mechanic shops, lets you manage everything within it. Config change plate during preview, you can name this whatever you want. So I'm going to name mine JG scripts, for example. Now, this has to be a max of 8 characters. Anything longer than 8 characters and it will start causing. Now, see, I can't name it JG scripts because that's longer than 8 characters. So I have to name it JG script. That's what we're going to have to do. Config.require management for order deletion. So do you want your employees, your normal low-level employees who aren't bosses, to be able to delete orders or not? So for the config use custom names in tuning menu, you can just leave this as false because it was put in place to fix when a modification said error, but that's now been resolved. Thank you, Dice, for the help, and thank you, Griff, for pinging all of support for me. Legendary. So now we need to actually start the server and get the resource in the server. So what we're going to do first is actually put it into the FiveM server. So I'm going to explain that step by step. Then we can continue with the config because the rest of it is just location stuff. So let's get started with that. First things first, this is what you will see. This is your server.cfg. So what you want to do is right click, make a new folder and name it something like dependencies. Now, this is where all of your dependencies will go for the JG resources and any other resources. You can put anything you want in there. So let's go to JG Mechanic bundle. Now, what dependencies are needed for JG Mechanic? The props and the vehicle mileage and the text UI if you're using it. So let's put it in there just in case. Now, you have to make sure that this dependencies folder starts before JG Mechanic. It's important it starts before, because if it starts after, what JG Mechanic will think is, these resources aren't here and it's not going to work. So make sure all those dependencies are started before. One thing I forgot to mention, you must also have oxlib. So if you get the error could not find dependency oxlib for resource JG Mechanic, the link will be down in the description to install oxlib. And then make sure this starts before JG Mechanic. So the way you want to do this is going to your server.cfg like this. So this is what my one looks like. All you have to do is type in ensure and then dependencies or your folder name. Now make sure it started after the framework and all of the ox stuff. And that's it. Bam. Done. That's all you have to do in the server.cfg. Now make sure you close anything that's open using the JG Mechanic folder, otherwise it won't let you drag it. which is the mistake I just made. But there you go. It works fine. I'm just going to delete that because it's in the dependencies folder already. Anyways, now that we've got that sorted, all we need to do now is load into the actual FiveM server. So let's do that and get it started. So now that you are in your server, we're going to be doing the vector work. So let's have a look at what the config says, and then we can work with that. Okay, so we're looking at config mechanic locations right now. So this is something called a table. You can add as many as you want in here. The easiest way to do it is look at the corresponding bracket. So for this one, it's a orange bracket here for me. So let's look for the orange bracket. There we go. I can just copy like this if I wanted to duplicate it. Make sure it's a different name though, otherwise it will cause issues. Anyways, let's get started. So the type of this type of mechanic is a self-service mechanic. That means you can do it yourself. It's not owned completely by yourself. So locations, this is again something called a table. You can add as many as you want. So I can show you now. So now, for example, if I spawn a car now, so I can, say for example, spawn car, Dalton RSX, so there you go. I can now do this myself completely. So look, I can customize my vehicle. I can stance it myself. All of this is self-service. Whatever I do sticks, and no mechanic worker has to do it themselves, well, with me. So if there you go. Works completely fine, it sticks. Now, let's carry on having a look. So, we're back at the config. Let's do a couple more then. Let's copy this. Add a comma here, because we're going to continue this. Paste. Now, this vector 3 211.6. You see this? A vector 3 is your location. So, the way you change your vector 3 is using your admin menu. So, whether you're using QB admin menu or whatever, you can copy the vector. So the way you get your custom vector is through TX admin. So let's do t/tx. So now in TX admin, this is what you will see. Go to teleport coords. So you will see originally it's teleporting waypoint. You see teleport copy coords. And you just want to copy those coords. It says copy to clipboard at the bottom. Go back to your JG mechanic. Now, best way to do it is comment it. Now, this is a vector 3. So all we need is the first 3 numbers. So we're going to grab those first 3 numbers. Like that. And make sure not to add that last comma, because you're not putting a 4th value in. There you go. That's a new location setup now. And you will be able to see 2 blips on the map. So let's show this. Okay, so now let's try this. All we do is ensure JG mechanic. There you go. Now let's look at the map. There you go, see? 2 locations. So now if we drive up to the location, we're able to customize our vehicle out here this time. See? Or like, I'll make it even. So it works exactly like that. Now let's say you want to hide the blip. All you do, you see where it says show blip, set it to false. Now let's see how this works. So you saw me change it to false. So now let's try and restart JG mechanic again. Now let's have a look on the map. See, there's only 1 blip. But if I drive away and come back, still be able to edit my stuff here. Edit my vehicle completely. Okay, now let's have a look here. LS Customs is owned and the job name is mechanic. So let's give ourselves the job mechanic. The job mechanic. So give job mechanic. Let's give myself manager. There you go. Now watch this. If I open out the tablet that I've given myself, LS Customs. I'm able to sign in completely fine. Completely fine, it works fine. Okay. This is what QBX core shared jobs.lua looks like. This is what QB cores looks like. So make sure for QB core it's this name right here. And for QBX core, it's this name right here in the square brackets. Now for ESX, it's slightly different. So this is an example of what the ESX one should look like. You should see name, label, and whitelisted. For ESX, you have to look for the name one. That's what should be in your job part. Now let's have a look at some more granular changes. So the first thing we're going to do is have a look at commission. Commission is how much money your employee gets with every sale. So let's say you sell something for $1,000. If this is set to 10%, your employee would make $100. It keeps on going. So for logo, you see how it says lscustoms.png. Now you might be wondering, where does that actually go? If you have a look in your JG Mechanic resource, you'll see something, a folder called logos. Now this is where you put it in. So you see here, lscustoms.png. See that? So let's say you have a custom mechanic shop. Let's call it JG Customs, right? You just put JG Customs.png. And then you'd make a picture and you'd name it JG Customs.png and throw it in that logos folder. Now, for owned mechanics, there's another option you'll see is called employee only. So if employee only equals true, that means that only employees can see this mechanic shop. So where they can edit their vehicle, where they can repair their car, do performance, all that kind of stuff. That menu I showed you outside and inside of Benny's. Now let's have a look at blips. So the blip ID, you can change this and find this inside of the 5M docs, and it will be under blips. The link is there. I'll also post it in the description of this video. Now, if you scroll all the way to the bottom of this blip link I've posted in the description, you will see colors as well. So that will be in the same link. Now, there are multiple colors, so I can show you here. All of these colors you can change. So don't worry about that. You can change the color to your liking. And the final thing is scale. Scale is how big your blip is. 1.0 is big, 2.0 is really big, and 0.7 is a good middle ground. If I were you, I'd keep it at that, but if you would like to make it bigger, just make the number bigger. If you would like to make it smaller, make that number smaller. Just a note, if you set show blip to false, this doesn't matter at all. This will be ignored. So the way the pricing works for everything, price 500, that's the baseline price. No matter whatever you do, that's going to be the baseline price. Then the percent vehicle value, the price of your vehicle will change the cost of everything. So for example, let's say your car is worth $1,000 according to dealerships, or so what it does is it initially grabs it from dealerships. If it can't get the information from dealerships, then it goes to your vehicles.lua, and then finally it goes to the handling.meta. So let's just say in your vehicles.lua, the cost of your car is $1,000. That means that this repair would be $510. Now the price mult is a global price multiplier. That's all it is. So everything times by 10%, or everything adds 10%, pretty much. So let's just say, let's go for that same thing, same price, $510, add 10% will be 51. So 510 at 51, the total will be $561. Okay, so now you understand how each mod works and how it's priced. So this is each category: performance, cosmetics, stands, spray, etc, etc. You can change this to your liking. Now, tuning. This is where it gets a bit more complicated. Do you want engine swaps in your server? If so, make enabled equals true. If you don't want it enabled, just set it to false. Now, the requires item is only really used if this is set to true. So if you want engine swaps to be true, does it need an engine? That's all it's trying to say. So if you want drivetrains to be enabled, to be changed, then do you want it to require an item? Turbocharging, same thing. Tires, same. All the same thing here. Very simple. Now, car lifts. Again, like it says, it's only usable by employees, explicitly employees. So you see the vehicle lift here. I'm going to drive up to it. Get out of the vehicle. Click use car lift. You see how the vehicle's already attached because you see the green button. Just like that, the vehicle lift works. Perfect. Now, I don't think you're only limited to one car lift. You can add multiple. The way to do it, I'll show you. You see this? You see how it says car lifts vector 4? Do the exact same thing. Copy it. Put a comma here. Paste the old one. Now all we're going to do is, remember with TXAdmin we were able to make a copy the coords. We're going to do the exact same thing. Copy the coords. Now because it's using a vector 4, we can just use all 4 of those numbers. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Now let's watch the magic appear in front of our eyes. I'm going to restart JG Mechanic. Oh. See that? Second car lift came through. And it actually works, look. Let's stand up on this to prove it actually works. And there you go. Works perfectly fine. Now, shops are a bit different. So, the way you want to do it is, this is the name of the shop that you want when you press E. Towards is the location of the shop. Size is how far away you can stand from it and you can actually interact with it. Use ped equals false. Do you want it to use an NPC or not? If you do want it to use an NPC, then this is what actually matters. The ped model, SMM_Lathandi01. So this is the ped that will be spawned if used ped is true. Now you can change the ped. You can find the peds on the 5M docs. Now you might wonder what is marker? What does it mean? So marker ID 21, just leave it the same. Size is how big the actual marker is. Now color, you can change that. RGB, red, green, and blue. A is how transparent it is. So red, green, blue, all at 255, which is the highest number you can use, by the way. That will be white. Now, if I made this 25500, then this would be red. Now, bob up and down, fairly simple. If you set this to 1, then the marker will bob up and down. Base camera, will it follow the camera the way you go? That's all that means. Rotate, does it spin? Draw on ends, do you need to leave that? That's fine. You can leave it like that. So have a look at our one. You see how it's white because 255, 255, 255. And it's spinning because we set spinning to true. There you go. Like if you press E, works fine. You can add as many as you want. So I'm going to show you how to set up another shop from scratch, okay? So let's do the exact same thing we do. Shops blue, this blue bracket, that has to stay, okay? So let's copy from here. Okay, but you see there's a red marker here. Why? Because you need to add the comma. There you go. Now we can name it whatever we want. So we can name it JG Scripts. Okay. Now let's set use ped to true. So we can see where it is. Now let's add the item mechanic_tablet to it. And let's change the name to mechanic tablet. We can get rid of these two. because we're not using it, and we can set the price to 0. Now, if you want to add more items, copy the exact same format. So look, no problems at all. Now you see how it says add model. We can leave that all the same. Now all we do is change the vector 3. Now the exact same way we change the vector 3 for everything else, we do the exact same thing. So let's set it right over here. Let's do /tx, copy coords. Go to here. We're going to make a comment because we only want the first 3 numbers without the comma, because there's 3 numbers here and it's a vector 3. Vector 3, 3 numbers. Vector 4, 4 numbers. Vector 2, 2 numbers. So there we go. Now all we have to do is restart JG Mechanic. So let's restart JG Mechanic. Whoa, look at that. See? Access shop. And grab the mechanic tablet. And there you go. We've been given a mechanic tablet. Works completely fine. See that? This is because you don't want an electric vehicle needing engine oil, for example. That's all it's for. So, just to let you know, if your game build is newer than 3258, it is automatically detected. You don't have to do anything. But if you're running anything older than game build 3258, then you have to add the spawn code yourself. So, for example, with the cards I have, I'd have to add... So, for me, I'd use something like GB Eon, one of my custom cars, because it is an electric car, as you can see. Now, these 3 things, you shouldn't really mess with them a lot if you don't know what you're doing. Auto run SQL, just leave that as true. It's basically a security just in case your tables get dropped for some reason. A table is the information in your database, by the way. Disable sound, it stops the ratchet sounds or anything like that. So if you're having issues with that, if it's not working for some reason, you can just set it to true. Config.debug, this enables your debug mode. If you need to use it, you can. It gives prints. Prints are basically like text in your chat, so you can see what's going on. Okay, let's have a look at config mods. So remember when we went back to the config.lua and you saw the tuning option here? This sort of ties into that. So the item name for a repair is a repair kit. Do you want it to remove the item? If you want it to, set it to true. Performance, same thing. Again, you can name this whatever you want. It gives you the freedom. Now, config mods.performance. When you open up your mechanic menu, so here, let's open it up here. This is the performance options here. This is what I'm talking about. So let's have a look back here. The name is engine. So if you wanted to rename this to whatever you want, you can. Now, the mod index, just leave it be. Don't touch this unless you know what you're doing. You can change the text inside here. And if you want to completely get rid of it for whatever reason, you can just delete it. No problem. So for some people, they don't like having armor on. They can just delete it. That's it. The easiest way to figure out what to delete, look at the colors, okay? Look at the matching colors. And look at where the brackets open and close. So this is all you really need to do in the config mods. Now let's have a look at config servicing. Here you can change the servicing of each thing that needs to be replaced. So how long do you want the lifespan in kilometers to last for suspension parts? Do you want it to only last 1,000 kilometers? If you want it to last longer, make it 10,000, as long as you want. It gives you the freedom. Now, to reset it, it's asking you what the quantity is needed to repair it fully. So for suspension parts, for example, you might want to set it to 4 because there's 4 suspensions for each wheels. Now, for example, tires, again, you can change it. Do you want to keep the damage on? If you don't want people to be able to replace their tires, you can just set this to false. No problem. Now, the lifespan in kilometers is the exact same as this one. And the item name, you can probably keep it the same. Tire replacement, item quantity, because there's 4 tires, the default is 4. Same with brake pads. Now, this is only for engines. So engine oil, how long do you want it to last? What do you want it restricted for? Clutch, again, only for only for combustion vehicles, so gas-powered vehicles. Same with air filters, same with spark plugs. These are only for combustion vehicles. Now, if you scroll down a bit, these ones are restricted to the EV electric vehicles. So if I wanted to add a new thing, for example, let's say I wanted to add EV brake fluid. There you go. You saw it. EV brake fluid. You restrict it to electric. Maybe make a new item, name it brake fluid. And that's all you need. That's all it is. Okay, now let's explain each thing step by step for vehicle tuning. So, the name of the modification that will be shown in the tablet. So, let's just open our tablet and explain each thing step by step. So, let's have a look. So, you see where it says tuning? So, there you go. This is what the name is. And then if you hover over the I button, a twin turbo 2.5 liter engine can reach speeds up to 100 miles per hour. So you see here, if we go back to this, that's the info. The item name is the item you need to be able to actually do the modification itself. Price, fairly self-explanatory, is the price of the vehicle. Not the price of the vehicle, the price of the modification. The audio name hash. What the audio name hash is it changes the engine sound. This is only for engine swaps. Handling. This can change handling in any way you want. Now, for more help, I will link this down in the description, this link here, but you can also see it in the config.tuning.lua. Handling apply order. This is linked straight back to handling. At what order is the handling overlapped? So which one takes priority? So let's just say you have a drivetrain and an engine, and they both increase the drive force of the vehicle. Which one takes priority? Handling overwrite values. This completely wipes over the old handling. Restricted. So this can lock it to an electric vehicle or a gas vehicle. Blacklist. So this blacklists blocks certain vehicles. So let's just say you don't want police vehicles to make an engine swap, then you can blacklist it. Min game build. This locks the configuration of each fuck. It can restrict each tune to a certain game build. So for example, with the manual gearboxes, they only work on game builds newer than 3407. So let's have a look here at the base engine swaps. 1, the name of the actual engine, and this is shown in the mechanic tablet, as you can see here. Then the icon, engine.svg, so it's just an engine. Info. So when I click that I button, this is what it said. The item name to be able to install it, i4 engine. The price of it, I can't see it because I'm in an electric vehicle. The price is 30,000. The audio name hash. Now you might be confused on what that means. So remember when I mentioned engine sound, it changes the engine sound to sound like a Sultan 2. So let's hear what a Sultan 2 sounds like. It will sound like this. Handling overwrites values. Does this completely overwrite your handling, your previous handling, or does it just add on to it? Handling apply order. This is what takes priority. So if this one is 1 and this one is 2, this one would take priority first, then this one would take priority. Now, the initial drive force, this is how much push your vehicle has. This is more handling related, and if you're confused, please have a look at some videos on how to understand handling, and I should be making some in the future with JG handling itself. Drive inertia, that's how quick your vehicle gets up to revs. Initial drive max flat velocity, that's how fast your vehicle goes. the clutch change rate scale upshift, that's how fast your vehicle shifts up. So if it's set to 4, that means that every 0.25 seconds, it'll take 0.25 seconds to shift up. So 1 would take 1 second, and it's just linear from that. So 5 would be 0.2, 6 would be whatever. I'm not good at maths. And the final thing, restricted combustion. So this is restricted to gas-powered vehicles. And this is the same thing here. So let's try and add one, just to show how it works. Okay, well, first of all, we need to add the comma here. There you go. And we can't make two of the values 4. We have to make 1 5 now. So we just add 1 to the previous one. Then we can change it to, let's just say, a W16 8 liter. So we can change the description name as well. So here. So we'll just leave it as V12 engine because I don't want to add another item now. So the price is 80,000. Shafter 3 is the audio name. It overwrites it. Again, same thing. Exactly the same thing. And look, no errors, no issues. Here, look. No errors at all. Oh, and you see the changes I made previously. You see how it's turned red. So now let's have a look at tires. So this is the same thing. You can change it the exact same way. So slick tires, what it actually does. See how it says handling apply order 2? This means that engine slots will take priority over the tires. So again, we can add it the exact same way. Legit, just copy, paste, change the number, add a comma there. That's all you have to do. And then you can change it however you wish. So ceramic brakes here. Powerful brakes with an immense stopping power. It increases the brake force. It overrides the value. Drivetrains. So the all-wheel drive drivetrain sets the bias front to 0.5, which is how it works because it splits it out evenly. If it's a rear-wheel drive, there you go, you can see 0, 0. Now all the power is going to the back. So the way drive bias works is where the power is split. So 0.5, 50% front, 50% back. 100% front. No, sorry. 0% front, 100% back. 100% front, 0% back. Now we can do the same thing here. So let's just say you can't really add much to this, but yeah, let's add another one. Let's make it 80-20. 80-20 front wheel drive. Now we'll just do that. Add the next number. Remember the comma still stays there. So now all we do is change the front bias to, instead of 1.0, change it to 0.8 because you want 80% of the power to go to the front and 20% to go to the back. So the turbocharging doesn't really do much. It just enables or disables the same thing that you do here in the tuning menu right here. Exact same thing. Just to let you know. Now for drift tuning, you can't add any more. You can only keep the original one. But you can change it to how you like. So if you want to be able to drift a bit more, maybe increase that low speed traction loss, etc. Now the gearbox is for 3095 and newer. So I can add a manual transmission into my vehicle, and you see how it's restricted to 3095 and only for combustion vehicles. This is directly related to the config where it said smooth first gear. Now let's get into more of the technical gripes. Let's say you want to use your own society banking, for example, okay? Because you don't like ESX add-on account and it's not listed in the configs. we're going to go a bit deeper. Now, let's say you want to use ESX or your own custom banking system, right? Let's figure this out now. What we're going to do is create a brand new line, okay? We're going to name it else if, okay? Config dot society banking equals then whatever your banking system is. So we're going to be using Wasabi banking for this example. So we're just going to set it to Wasabi banking. And then we create a new line. And then we type return. And then what we want to do is look for Wasabi's banking's exports. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to type in, we're going to grab the export from here, from the Wasabi docs. And because this account name isn't here, and we don't know what it is, you see this function here? You see how in these brackets, there's two things, society and society type. We're just going to change it to society. That's it. All you have to do. Now, this is only part one. We have to get the other one sorted now. So let's look for every single thing related to banking. So there's another function here, pay into society fund. So let's create a new line again. Else if config dot society banking equals Wasabi banking. There you go. Export dot Wasabi banking. There you go. Yeah, it says account name, amount, reason, right? Where you should change this to society. Ooh, society name. This was so it matches the function here. Now we can set the reason to just. There you go. That's all you have to do. Now there's one final thing we need to do. The final function. Okay, so remove from society fund. So let's have a look. So remove money. So we're going to do another one. Else if, there you go. It's autofilling. There you go. So instead of account name, we're going to change it to society name, amount, and then that's it. There you go. You've just added Wasabi banking to your JG mechanic all by yourself. Now this can be done for every other banking system. Now you're wondering, how do you get the exports? The easiest way to get the exports is search up your banking name and then type documentation. Then all you do is look for the place that has exports. Now we have to look at what each thing does. So this one removes from society fund. So we're going to remove money, remove money, remove money. We have to look at what it does. So this one adds money. So we're going to look for the add money export. This one gets the account name. So we're going to get the account name here. Very simple. Now let's show you how to add a custom notification system as well. Okay. So because notifications are going to be on the client side, we're going to be looking at CL functions.lower. CL just stands for client. So let's have a look now. So notifications here. Okay, so what we're going to do. So let's add Mythic Notify, for example. All we're going to do is we're going to start off with else if config.notifications equals Mythic. And then we look for Mythic Notify documentation. So what we're going to do, go on to Google. Yeah, I'll even bring it over here. Have a look at Google. Look up Mythic Notify documentation. That's it. Okay, so let's have a look at the Mythic Notification documentation. So there you go. Export to Mythic Notification, send alert, type message. You see? So we're just going to copy that. And then go back to it. And there you go. Now, we're going to change this from message to message because we have to follow the function, remember? And then we just change this one to type. There you go. You've added Mythic Notify. That's it. And then all you do is change your config name from notification to Mythic. Because that's what you named it in the CL function, see? You named it if config notifications is equal to Mythic, then it uses Mythic Notify. And there you go. You set up your own JG mechanic by yourself. Congratulations. Enjoy your script. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.